Brenda will be there for meetings. Also because I have to run it.
Yeah.
I know, I
Lucky
didn't
you.
realize we had the meeting today. Yeah, I know. I was like, oh, shoot.
Well, that's what the
Well, you
guys.
never know. I mean, all of us are gonna be in conflict. Why don't we just cancel it? I won't be here. Sure. Yeah, and you know what? We have to vote. Maybe I'll contact Julia and see if we may have to schedule. But honestly, I think pandemic. Yeah.
Because and one of the things they wanted to talk, another thing is
Blair.
you know, for outside. Are they going to work?
We are here in the boardroom. We should be going close to on time, maybe a minute or two late.
Blair, this is Bill Leonard. Will you let me know when we're ready to go?
I will, thank you.
Thank you.
Hey Blair, can you make the screen a little bigger? The document that shows.
Does that work for you?
Well, for him.
Okay. What's your name?
Much better, thank you.
Yeah, I know. Judge Castoni had a black, so.
Mr. Martin, are you watching the video from YouTube or are you watching it from the Zoom meeting?
Yes.
The Zoom meeting.
Okay, I just was worried about the potential delay. Like, tell me when you see this notepad screen come on.
Now,
You've seen it already?
Your last name?
Okay.
It's Bayer, B-A-Y-E-R. Thank you.
try me again now that I know what I'm looking for. Now,
There it is.
Okay, it seems like you maybe have about a 3 or 4 second delay, what you're seeing from when I do it here in the room.
that's just to avoid profanity, isn't it?
Because you know that I'm on the edge.
Oh, we gotta watch out for Martin. You never know what Martin's gonna say.
Well, you do. That's why the delay's in there.
It was everything.
Better time of day. I mean,
Yeah, oh yeah, absolutely. And what were they, was the plan, was it?
They originally had a plan for the fall election. You can't reset our system. It sounds like something.
Well, that would have been nice to know because.
They didn't think that it was going to.
Blair, how many board members do we have present in the meeting room?
None.
Okay.
I'm always volunteer.
It looks like we have yourself, we have Martin, Sanchez, Hanson, Wegman, Starrett, Barrero, and Caius. And then
Kenyon's online.
I'm sorry, who was that?
Kenyon,
Kenyon.
Mike Kenyon.
Okay.
Mike Kenyon.
So of the people on the JPS committee, we have Martin, Iqbal, Kenyon,
Give this back to you.
Sanchez, and Thomas, did you say?
Oh, Kenyon, so you have 4.
No Thomas.
Okay, no Thomas. All right.
We have a quorum though.
Yeah, we're ready. Are we good to go, Blair? Or?
Karen, are you ready?
I'm ready. I'll just start it up.
Okay, yes, I think we're good to go.
Okay, thank you, Blair. Good morning, everyone. The hour being 9 a.m. on Thursday, November 12th, 2020. I'd like to call the Judicial and Public Safety Committee meeting to order. Madam Clerk, would you please do the roll call?
Bo? Kenyon?
Who? Here? Oh, Iqbal here.
Oh, thank you. Lewis? He's not here. Martin?
Martin present.
Sanchez?
Here.
Thomas? Okay. Okay.
Okay, we have a quorum. Moving on, I'm going to need a motion and a second to approve the minutes. Please state your name and then make the motion.
Martin
Mike
moves.
Kenyon. Mike Kenyon, second the motion.
Okay, Martin moves, Kenyon seconds. Any changes, additions, deletions? Hearing none. Karen, please do the roll.
Iqbal,
Yes.
Kenyon,
Yes.
Martin.
Yes, Martin.
Thank you. Sanchez,
Yes.
Thomas. Okay.
Okay, we have the minutes approved. Is there anyone there for public comment? And Karen, could you please advise me if there is?
I do not believe so.
Okay, moving on to monthly reports. We have the judiciary financial reports on file. Is Jessica Wagner, anyone from that office there?
It doesn't look like it.
Okay. Our next order of business is we have a resolution where we need to ratify the county board's authorization of wage increase for the fiscal year 2021 for department heads, non-jurisdictional, and judicial and public safety committee. I need a motion and a second on that.
Sanchez moves. Iqbal second. Kenyon second.
Okay, Mr. Sanchez moved, Mr. Iqbal second. Any questions, discussions, concerns about this? Hearing none, Karen, would you please do the roll call?
Iqbal,
Iqbal, yes.
Kenyon,
Kenyon, yes.
Martin,
Martin, yes.
Sanchez,
Yes.
passes.
Okay, the resolution passes. Thank you very much. Moving on to the state's attorney's office. Who do we have there to present their report?
Christine Bear, Assistant State's Attorney.
Okay, Ms. Bear, thank you very much. Please go ahead.
I have just year-to-date information on some of the case numbers that we have. As of pretty much this morning, we have 2,113 felony files that have been filed. We have 2,668 misdemeanor cases that have also been filed. And then as far as traffic cases, the state numbers it's in the 15,000s. Obviously, we've had an election and there's been a transition that's going to be occurring throughout this month and obviously then taking over next month. And that's my report.
Very good. Thank you very much. Any questions from Ms. Bear? Hearing none, thank you once again. We'll move on to the Sheriff's Adult Correction Office. Before Sheriff Payne speaks, I would like to make one comment. We have an intergovernmental agreement amendment that we had hoped to get to this committee for approval. However, we had some timing and logistics problems. In speaking with Sheriff Hayne and with Chairman Lawson, it has been brought to my attention that this amendment to the IGA agreement is for body cameras to be worn by the Kane County Sheriff's Office at the Canelan School District, and that this will be put on our agenda at the executive meeting for approval and moving forward to the county board. So there should be no delay in getting this done. I just wanted to make everybody on the committee aware of that. Sheriff Hayne, do you have a report for us?
Sure do, Chairman Leonard. Thank you for that overview of our resolution that's going to executive and skipping here. So I'm sorry, IT, I know you've had a lot of weight on you this morning. I'll just wait for you to get the PowerPoint loaded up. Just when you guys thought you had escaped a PowerPoint last month, I come back with one this month. But there's a lot to go over, happenings at the Sheriff's Office. So Blair, if you just want to move it around for me, you can go right to, is it Blair or is it Roger doing it?
We're working on that, right?
Okay. So slide 2 just talks about COVID-19. If you guys want to flip to that, COVID-19 jail status. So we did get it under control in September. We got down to 0 positive cases. Unfortunately, this month we had another small contained outbreak between 2 different cell blocks. So we have a total of 10 positive detainees right now, and they've been isolated and are non-symptomatic. So that's good news. We can go right there and one more click. So as we continue to operate out of our box during COVID, thank you, Roger. We are continuing to cover the Hesed House rental equipment expenses for their annex building to keep that operation running. Again, this is not coming out of the COVID budget. It's coming out of our general fund budget at the Sheriff's Office for September and October. So the good news is we are trending about 7 figures under budget at the Sheriff's Office. We think we're going to land about half of that come December when the fiscal year ends. So far, again, working with the health department, we've done 160 business compliance efforts, and that includes follow-ups at all of those businesses. So this has been a big weight on our patrol staff as well. We are shifting our main sally port at our complex to become a COVID testing zone. And this will also be part of the vaccine dispersal when that comes out. So just a different look at the Sheriff's Office. Unfortunately for the judiciary, there's going to be a lot more traffic behind the courthouse, Doug, so I included you in that email yesterday. Hopefully if there's any issues, the judiciary is very clear in communicating with us. Anything we can do to shift that. So this will be an interesting test to see how this operation will work, basically a drive-through area for bulk testing of the public and ultimately, like I said, that vaccine dispersal. So we were predicting a lot of unrest following the elections or on election day. Happy to report it was very smooth. We established an excellent relationship during the month of June when we had all that civil unrest with those police departments and sheriff's offices that I have listed up there. And so that formed into the Fox Valley Metro Area Command, and it's run out of the Aurora Police Department. But essentially our sheriff's office in Kane County has a tactical operations center that we set up whenever we predict instances of instability. And we farm out assets and personnel to any issues that arise in Kane County. And back in June, it worked beautifully when we could send half of our force to Naperville, and we could send half of our force to Elgin and shift personnel and assets around fluidly in combination with those other agencies. So happy to report there were a couple of quote unquote protests, very small in numbers, and zero civil unrest or rioting. For general public safety, we talked a lot about this year, the increase in more violent type crime and kind of a departure from the normal, especially during COVID as people became frustrated and then those aforementioned civil unrest. An interesting statistic here. So 2019 incidents of fleeing and eluding from our police officers. So when somebody gets behind someone to execute a traffic stop, whether it's a simple traffic violation or they're leaving a crime scene, you see the difference between 2019 and 2020 incidents. And that's just year to date in 2020. We're almost double the commissions of people fleeing from our deputies at the sheriff's office. Very interesting statistic. Fortunately, all of our deputies go through our emergency vehicle operations course that we created in the last year, and none of our deputies have been injured, and they are making high quality apprehensions, I would call it, if you get to see some of the video of these pursuits. Just impressive police work. And speaking of impressive police work, I wanted to address the homicide that we had in the 1500 block of Sulphusburg on Halloween Day. As the board knows, I do like to bring members of the office to board meetings, committee meetings, and just get their faces in front of our board members so they know that high quality of work. Unfortunately, today we have no board members in the room. They're all virtual. So they're going to get to hear your awesome voices. So with us today, we have Sergeant Nate Borovec, who's going to give us a quick overview of the homicide investigation, Lieutenant Dave Wolf, Detective Ryan Wasson, Detective Andy Schwab, the best evidence tech in Kane County, Detective Amy Johnson, and Detective Luke Weston are all here with us today. So Sergeant Borovec, would you mind stepping up to the mic over here and give a quick overview? You guys can step up behind him. These folks all appreciate you too. But.
Testing. Good morning. All right, I apologize. I do not have a PowerPoint, but unfortunately I do have a piece of paper to read from real quick, just so I don't miss anything. So on Halloween morning at approximately 9:20 a.m., KaneCom received a call requesting EMS and police services for a death investigation on Sulphusburg Avenue in Aurora. Deputies from the Kane County Sheriff's Office, along with local fire department, responded and located a deceased subject inside the residence. That person's name is Mario Yang. Deputies searched this residence to make sure there was no suspects or other victims within the dwelling, and they secured the residence knowing this was a crime scene. Patrol deputies began the initial investigation of talking to the property owner, family, and a friend of the victim, which led to door-to-door conversations with neighboring residents. The King County Sheriff's Office Investigations Division was notified, and our general assignment and evidence detectives responded to assist. Upon arrival, detectives went to work alongside patrol deputies on scene, speaking to family members, tracking down videos, and attempting to establish a timeline of the crime. Evidence detectives, Amy, began processing the extensive crime scene using a 3D scanner and a litany of other tools, which in the end took over 14 hours just for the crime scene. Evidence and information led detectives and deputies in all directions, which created multiple areas to search. Several Kane County canines responded to the scene along with the Office of Emergency Management to assist in these searches. The multiple searches yielded several items related to the crime, helping us better identify a possible suspect. Throughout the day, interviews of multiple witnesses were conducted, and by the end of the day on Halloween, a suspect was identified and held for charges after speaking with the Kane County State Attorney's Office. Halloween day ended on Sunday for most, but not once did I hear a complaint from anyone on the scene that day. Our team, after some sleep, met up later on Sunday and pieced together everything needed to formalize charges with the King County State Attorney's Office. And on November 2nd, Detective Schwab officially charged the subject in this case with 2 counts of first-degree murder and 1 count of armed robbery. None of these charges could have come to fruition without the teamwork from almost every corner of the Sheriff's Office during this investigation. To date, countless hours have been logged, reviewing video, processing evidence, and even more interviews, just showing the tireless drive that everyone involved in this case had. This personally makes me proud just to be a part of the swift conclusion for the victim's family. After 4 years of military service and 20+ years of law enforcement, I realize that no duty is more urgent than returning thanks. So thank you to everybody here, and those that are not here, that spent the weekend away from their families in hopes to give some peace to Mario's family. Resolution of this magnitude help us remember why we started our careers in law enforcement. Thank you.
Thank you, sir, very much. The Sheriff's Department continues to amaze all of us with what a professional and wonderful job they do. I'd like to thank everybody involved in this. If possible, if we could get a picture, someone to take a picture of these fine officers that were involved in this and at the meeting today, I would very much appreciate that. And I would like that sent to all county board members if that would be okay with the sheriff. But once again, thank you all so very much. And Chairman Lawson, did you have something to say?
Yes, other than my gratitude, those pictures have been taken.
Oh, wonderful.
And Roger's getting back up too.
We're good.
Yeah, I just want to emphasize really quick, the call went out at 9 a.m. that day on Halloween day. They arrived there about the same time I did, 10:30, and I got to leave at noon because I realized I just get in the way. And I just let these awesome people do their job and give them what they need. They were out until 1, 2 in the morning since 10 a.m. and like Sergeant Mordick said, didn't even flinch and right back at it the next day to solve a homicide. So just huge credit to them and incredible work. So thank you for your applause, everybody. And I'm sure you all applauded at home. That's all we have for our report.
Thank you very much, Sheriff. And once again, thank you and all your staff for all the great work you do for Kane County. Moving on to the judiciary and courts, I don't know if Chief Judge Hull is there, but I did hear Mr. Naughton's voice. Is someone there to present the reports?
Yes, Mr. Chairman, thank you very much. This is Doug Naughton reporting for Judge Hull. First, we'd like to talk about, we're going to have a Justice Partners meeting today. And one of the issues we're going to talk about are COVID cleaning crews. We've been fortunate that the CARES Act money has been funding, having cleaners come through and wipe down all the touchable surfaces in all of our facilities. We would like for this to continue even after the CARES Act expires. It's very important to the people that walk into our facilities and to our staff to provide a safe working environment. And this applies particularly to the jurors. Most people are very nervous about going anywhere where there are large crowds, and this is true especially for jurors. You're coming into a building lots of people present. This helps calm them down and make them more confident in that the measures we're taking to protect them actually will allow them to do their job. So that's something we're going to be bringing forward to this committee and to the other committees as necessary to increase or to allow that service to continue. We are still having jury trials every week, one on Mondays, one on Wednesdays. So that's been going to continue. We're going to have the meeting today at noon for the Justice Partners. We want to talk about a number of issues. One is about the COVID office policies. What are we going to do? Are we going to allow or encourage staff to travel over the holidays? That could be a concern. We are seeing rising levels of infected staff in virtually all of our offices. We also want to talk about our admittance policies into our buildings. Currently, for a while during the shutdown, we did not allow anyone who did not have an active case into our buildings. We have relaxed that to an extent, especially when we have emergency orders of protection or cases involving domestic violence or even DUI because the driver brings the defendant to court. That's something we also want to talk about to help restrict the number of people and to reduce the chance of exposure. So we have a full agenda ahead of us. And Mr. Chairman, that's really all I have for this morning.
Well, thank you, Mr. Naughton, and thank you very much for all the precautions and safety measures you're taking. And I fully agree with your proposal that we continue those even after this COVID pandemic is resolved. So thank you very much for all your work, and we appreciate your report, and I do agree totally with your recommendations. So thank you once again. Moving on to court services, Ms. Ost. Before we let Ms. Ost give her report, I wanted to mention that we have a resolution on the agenda that I would like to take off the agenda, and it's concerning the rollover of funds for building improvement at the Juvenile Justice Center. Last month, as you all know, we had a unanimous consensus to approve this measure, which in essence said that we will, as a county, we will submit $125,000 to the improvement and development of a second courtroom in the Juvenile Justice Center, and that through the court services and other fees collected, they will pay the additional $726,000. Once again, we are in total agreement on that. This will happen and we will get it approved. However, because of a memo I received from Joe Onsick, he said the proper procedure for us to go through this is we have to go through administration and finance. Once the audit is complete, and the audit for the fiscal year 2020 won't be completed until February or March. So unfortunately, at this time, we can't take any action on this resolution, but I will assure Ms. Austin, everyone else, Chief Judge Hull and everyone else, that this will happen. It's just a matter of timing and we have to follow the process. So I just wanted to let everyone know about that. Ms. Austin, could you please give us your report?
Sure, thank you. When looking at our financials, I am happy to report that we remain in really good shape. There are some downsides to that, but there are some good sides to that on behalf of the county. Our revenue, as you can see, we are over 92% collected in our revenue from the state. So we look great on the revenue side. Also, I've reported earlier, although I've not done a resolution, that we received another over $500,000 in revenue from the Administrative Office for Illinois Courts, which will be reoccurring annually going forward. And I'm super happy about that. Judge Costolny talked about it at the last county board meeting, but I have not done a resolution yet for this board. I will be doing that probably next month as soon as we figure out exactly what line items we're going to adjust. That we've gotten a $500,000 grant from the federal government on behalf of drug courts. Most of that money will be going towards drug treatment, as you know, which is sorely needed, and I'm super happy about that. Additionally, the JJC did get over $50,000 to be used for PPE purchases as well as overtime expenses. We're in the process, and we were allowed to apply that over 2 years, this fiscal year and some of next fiscal year. So my finance people are in the middle of working that out to figure out exactly how much should be applied year to year, and I'll be forthcoming with that. Additionally, as you can see on the expenses portion of the finance report, that we're under budget right now by about 2.4 million. I don't believe that we'll be under budget that full amount. We did have to purchase computers and things for remote court, and IT hasn't yet passed through that that notice to us on the billing. So it won't quite be that amount, but I'm fully anticipating close to 2 million. And so here's the downside, is that the majority of that savings has been because of COVID. We haven't been able to place as many juveniles into residential placement as we would normally do. In fact, for this entire last year, we only placed one kid. And that's largely because of transportation restrictions and movement restrictions because of the COVID outbreak. The downside, of course, is that we are seeing an increase in certain court calls, like for abuse and neglect and domestic violence. I think because a lot of people are being stuck at home, or we're not able to move them to other facilities, whereas we normally would have been able to do that. Additionally, we have several openings as far as staff are concerned that we're just not able to fill, particularly in our professional arenas. The diagnostic center has 2 very critical open positions for doctoral level forensic psychologists that we're just not getting the applicants for. And it's very frustrating. I think part of it, we can guess all day long, but we're just not getting qualified applicants. Some of the reasons that we're being told are, telehealth is strong right now, and a lot of psychologists are able to procure those kind of jobs where they can work from home, whereas a forensic psychologist has to go to the jail to do in-person interviews because they have to do intelligence tests, and they give them things to manipulate, things physically that they have to touch. And so we're just really struggling with that. And so while we have these open positions, unfortunately, that is contributing to us being under budget because we're not paying people. The downside is going to be in a few months, in a month, you're going to start seeing a backlog again. We're going to have people waiting to be tested again. We're just not going to be able to move cases as quickly as we otherwise should, and there's going to be expenses in other areas. So I apologize deeply. We're trying very hard to recruit people, to get the word out. We're advertising in all kinds of places we don't normally advertise. So there's a positive and a negative to everything. And that is my report.
Well, thank you, Ms. Austin. You continue to amaze this committee and myself with all the positive work you're doing. We understand the restrictions that you have to endure because of this pandemic with respect to hiring and fulfilling positions. And we understand that the budget is not a true representation of where you will be. However, we do realize that you and your people are doing a wonderful job. You've continued to bring more revenue into the county and cut expenses, and your experience this last year during the pandemic has been exemplary for all departments. So thank you very much, Ms. Huss. We always appreciate hearing your report and the good news you have to deliver to us. So thank you once again.
Thank you.
Moving on to the Juvenile Justice Center, Mr. Davis.
Good morning. My financial report's on file. Everyone in our building is healthy. Like all departments, we have a few people out with symptoms that we continue to monitor, but I'm happy to report since our outbreak the first week of August, we haven't had any of the kids test positive or have any symptoms. As Lisa said, we are short on staff quite a bit. I feel like I'm always doing interviews And we're doing everything we can, like she said, to attract applicants. Working in detention is it's a difficult job in general, but especially during the coronavirus. So we do a lot of interviews. One of the other things that Lisa mentioned was that we haven't placed a lot of kids this year. That goes for juvenile detention as well. We have a very difficult time getting kids hospitalized when they have mental health issues. It's been an issue the last few years, and I've talked about it at the meetings, but the last year in particular, with hospitals only taking a portion of the kids that they normally take, the kids in detention are usually last in line for those services. So our youth counselors are dealing with a lot of kids on a daily basis who have some serious mental health issues. But really, all of the youth counselors and everybody in the building have done a great job, and they've all stepped up. And we have used a lot of overtime this year, but I'm trying to address that and get people hired as quickly as I can. Aside from that, we continue to apply for grants and move forward. We, through our garden grant through the development office, we just planted an apple orchard between our building and the new multi-use facility. It'll act as a natural barrier, so the kids in the outside recreation area have some privacy, but it also looks really nice. So if you're over at the building, stop, walk on over and check it out. Aside from that, I don't have anything else today. Thank you.
Well, thank you, Mr. Davis. Any questions for Mr. Davis?
Mr.
Yes,
Leonard?
Yes.
Oh, I'm not sure if somebody else, I think.
Go ahead. I'll follow.
Oh,
Go right ahead.
Okay, I'm sorry. Thank you, Dr. Iqbal. Mike, thank you very much. And I'd also like to mention to the sheriff that we all understand how hard it is to be managing an already difficult function during the middle of the COVID pandemic. I think that each person in this room or on the telephone who has supervisory responsibilities in the various departments understands how hard it is in, just like, for instance, this building or in Rogers' building, to make sure that everything is sanitized and everybody's doing their very best. And so the record of having everybody healthy since August is amazing. And what's happened over in the adult correctional facility, in the jail, that is amazing, that record. So thank you. It is very hard. You guys are doing a great job on it. Nearly an impossible thing. I mean, what we're finding, among, our lay people workers, it's nearly impossible. That's, every other day we have somebody who's been exposed to it and then quarantined. And so congratulations.
Thank you, Chairman. I appreciate it.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I think Dr. Iqbal had something he'd like to say also.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chairman. Yeah, I want to thank Mr. Davis. I have a question for him. COVID has been hard for everyone, all the adults, but particularly on the children. If he could say a few words, what kind of symptoms he sees or what special effect it has on the young adults, that would be good.
Sure. So not only are youth counselors, not only everyone in the building, all the employees are wearing a mask, we have the kids wear masks every day. We follow the King County Health Department and the Illinois Department of Public Health guidelines. So we have to try to keep the kids in cohorts and keep them separated as much as possible. So we only take 4 kids to the gym at a time. Classroom time is split up. We take 5 kids to the classroom at a time, and the other 5 kids, or however many kids are in the unit, would remain in the pod, and we flip-flop the kids. We also do not let them congregate in the common room any longer, so they have to spend more time in their pods. So I had mentioned that we have a lot of kids with serious mental health issues, so you can imagine that we try to give them more things to do in their rooms. We have chalkboards in the rooms and we give them chalk. We have radios and things of that nature. So we try to give the kids things to do, but as you can imagine, it's difficult for a teenager to have to deal with those guidelines. But that's what we have to do to keep everyone safe. And I should have mentioned actually, and thank you for bringing that up, that the Regional Office of Education is currently installing video ports in our classrooms so that the kids who are not in the classroom at the time can follow with class virtually from their units on iPads. So the Regional Office of Education through the Title I grant has purchased several iPads and video systems for the classroom so that the kids will participate virtually. So we can, basically it's going to be like what every student in the state is doing right now.
Great, thank you.
Thank you.
Well, thank you, Mr. Davis. And another point that I'd like to mention here is the fact that Mr. Davis, as the other directors and elected officials have stated, their people are putting in so many additional hours and working so hard to accomplish things during this pandemic. But I'd like to thank Mr. Davis, the other department heads and elected officials for all of their work they're doing. You know, these people are on salary and they're not working 40 hours a week. They're working 60, 70 hours a week, and their devotion is admirable and very much appreciated. So I'd like to thank you, Mr. Davis, and the other directors, elected officials, and department heads for all the additional work they're doing right now through this pandemic.
Thank you.
Moving on to CaneCom, Ms. Guthrie. And before Ms. Guthrie gives her report, I would just like to thank her and her department for their involvement in the Sophusburg murder case. Obviously, they were the first contact on this. They moved it over to the Sheriff's Department and helped in that way. And once again, I want to point out how important CaneCom is to the way we run not only our Sheriff's Department, but all our departments in the county. So, Ms. Guthrie.
Yes, thank you. Thank you for recognizing our team as well. We have a number of projects going on October through December, as you are aware, and our monthly reports are on file, and some of those projects are listed in there with more detail than others. I do want to say thank you to the Diagnostic Center for the assistance in getting a couple telecommunicators hired this week. So we have 2 new telecommunicators who are going to start training this week. They have 3 weeks of classroom training before they will start in the room. And then we will continue on filling additional vacancies. As for the projects we've been working on, we received that Next Generation 911 grant for 2020. We received one in 19 for our phone system, and then we've received one in 20 to upgrade our logging recorder. And we're in the middle of that project this week. We're still receiving equipment for the Motorola Starcom project, and we are working quickly on scheduling training and implementation through the coordination with the Sheriff's Office, IT, our police and fire subscribers. Other than that, that is all I have this month.
Well, thank you, Ms. Guthrie. Any questions for Ms. Guthrie? Hearing none, thank you once again, Ms. Guthrie. And, you know, the other thing I'd like to point out is with this new dispatch radio system that is going into effect, not only is Ms. Guthrie and her department dealing with the pandemic, but also incorporating a brand new communication system with all the other departments involved. So I know you're very busy and we appreciate all the hard work you do. And thank you very much for your report.
Thank you.
Moving on to the Merit Commission, do we have anyone there to report on that?
Yes, Pete Bergert. In October, or last month, we reported that we would most likely be testing and scheduled a test for correctional officers in December. Applications are open. We do not have many returned as of today. They were available through the month of November. Our main concern now is with COVID that the governor doesn't shut everything down again in a stay-at-home order, which means we couldn't test in a group setting. So we're looking at remote testing facilities that if that comes to fruition, we would not be able to test probably until January or February. But other than that, we have nothing.
Well, thank you very much. I assume this is Mr. Zizek.
No, it's Pete.
Can't see you, obviously. Are there any questions for the Merit Commission? Hearing none, we will move on to the circuit clerk. Mr. Hartwell is not able to be there. I don't know if anyone else from the circuit clerk's office is available to give a report. If there is, please identify yourself. If not, the report is on file. Moving on to the public defender, Ms. Conant.
Thank you. Good morning. Our report is on file. Just wanted to point out a couple of things. As to our numbers for the year at this date, our open cases are down a little bit from last year. However, we do still are still working through the backlog from the shutdown. On average, our felony attorneys are carrying about 85 clients, with the top number being 104 for one attorney. So that is up quite a bit from this time last year. Additionally, we are working to keep all of our employees healthy and safe. We have had a few outbreaks in our office. Luckily, for all the technology that we have now, we have been able to continue their court calls. Those that are on quarantine are working from home and able to come in to court through Zoom. The one area to point out in regards to our numbers, as others have indicated, is abuse and neglect. We have opened almost 3 times the number of cases as we did at this time last year. So that is still an area of big concern for us. And that is all of my report for today. Thank you.
Well, thank you, Ms. Conant. Any questions for our public defender? You know, I would like to mention before we dismiss Ms. Conant that this year she came into this office just before the pandemic and has had a tremendous amount of things to deal with, including the pandemic, and that every department is so happy to be working with her and her department that I want to thank you very much for your service this very first year that you've been public defender, and hope that everything continues to go as well as it has in the past for you. Thank you very much, Ms. Conant.
Thank you.
Moving on to the coroner, Mr. Russell. I don't believe anyone is here for the coroner's office, so we'll move on. There is no need for executive session today. However, I do need a motion and a second to place our written reports on file.
So moved. Iqbal moves.
Sanchez seconds.
Dr. Iqbal moves, Mr. Sanchez seconds. Any questions, concerns about that? If not, clerk, please do the roll call.
Iqbal,
Iqbal, yes.
Kenyon, Martin,
Martin, yes.
Sanchez,
Yes.
Thomas.
Thomas, yes.
Thank you.
The reports are placed on file. Before we have adjournment, I would just like to ask everyone's indulgence just to thank all the members of this committee for all their hard work, professionalism, and teamwork. It has truly been my pleasure and honor to chair this committee the last 2 years. And I must say, this committee, including the elected officials, the directors, the staff, the board members, and the administrators, have been the best committee I've ever had the pleasure of serving with in my 6 years on the county board. So thank you all very much. I appreciate all the great work you do and how you make Kane County a better place to live and work. I need a motion to adjourn.
Sanchez moves.
So moved.
Seconded by Dr. Iqbal. Mr. Sanchez moves, Dr. Iqbal seconds. This is a voice vote. All those in favor, please say aye.
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 The meeting is adjourned. Thank you all very much.